What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Trout Wrangler Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Garrity. That guy back there, that's our show's vibes curator, Mr. Maverick. We got him on every show. We got a really cool episode in store today. Got a lodge out of the Bahamas coming on, and it's going to be a really fun episode. Some awesome dudes. I don't know if Kyle and Grizz are going to be there, but until we get on there, we got to thank the people that make this podcast possible. A Fweta Coffee, Free Fly Apparel, Trout Routes, and Loon Outdoors. Until then, coming up next is the podcast episode with the Soulfly Lodge. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Trout Wrangler Podcast. Like I said in the intro, we do have a guest. I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit, Kyle.
Sure. Yeah, Ryan, thanks for having me. My name's Kyle Schaefer. I've been a fly fishing guide my whole career. I started a fly fishing lodge called Soulfly Lodge down the Bahamas. Ended up doing a bunch of conservation work with the Saltwater Guides Association, and got a couple new things cooking these days. But yeah, the major focus is Soulfly Lodge down the Bahamas and Stripers in Maine.
Heck yeah, dude. That's like the best of both worlds right there, man. It's like those big New England striper and then going down to the Bahamas and then catching big bonefish, dude. I couldn't think of anything better.
Yeah, man. I feel like I've plotted this for a long time and to have my my path kind of like dug in now back and forth between Maine to the Bahamas. I feel very, very fortunate for sure.
Sweet, man. So the first question I always ask, I actually left it off the outline, is what ended up getting you into fishing? And then what transitioned over to the fly rod?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, I think for me, it was always just like curiosity of what is swimming below the surface of the water. I mean, as a kid, I just always was fascinated with, what lives in these waters. I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay, which was just like filled. I was in the brackish part of the bay, so you had so many different species, salt and fresh, right in the same water. And so I think like being exposed to that as a kid, there was just like so much mystery. You'd run a seining net down a shoreline just for fun, just to see what was in there, and you just come up with so much diversity. So I think for me, it was just like this fascination with the ocean, with the water, what swims there. And of course, a rod is the best way to explore that.
Oh, yeah.
And very cliche. When I was in second grade, I was definitely a little young to see a river run through it, but I saw it, and that movie made a heck of an impression on me. And right after that, I was out in the yard picking up crow feathers and tying them to hooks and got my first fly rod. And, I mean, back in those days, I mean, and for me too, I had very little mentorship for a lot of my years. And, so you're just picking away at it. You're trying to learn, you're trying to figure things out. And I just stuck with the path and ended up, as I started getting into guiding right out of college, you just all of a sudden you're just exposed to just kind of a fast track of learning, of being around different guides, being immersed in the industry. And I just stuck with it.
Yeah, dude. I think that I'm kind of like the same way. My dad didn't like to fish. Like my Uncle Kevin, we used to fish a lot up in me, my dad, and my Uncle Kevin. My dad didn't really fish much, but we'd end up going and just bouncing around the ponds, and like or little lakes in Massachusetts, really. Sinking a dang bobber in some in some corn or like something like that, just something to shut me up as a kid. And
Sure.
then when I moved here, it was like I didn't really have many friends when I moved here. And I just like, you know what? I'm just gonna break out my old fishing rods and just keep fishing.
Yep.
And then finally, like I ended up meeting my buddy who introduced me like into like the actual like not sinking a worm or like under a bobber and stuff like that. And I ended up fishing in high school and college, and then I just like kind of got. I always had the fly rod. Oh, there goes all my fly time materials back there. But I ended up just like picking up a fly rod one day, and I was like, you know what, this is pretty fun. And then it, but it's like all the fly fishing stuff and really all the bass fishing stuff I learned outside of like what my buddy taught me was all kind of like learned by myself, just going out and getting kicked in the teeth. But like, I feel like that's the best way to do it.
It totally is, man. I mean, I feel like you got to put that time in to realize what you don't know. And then
Yeah.
as you start to, I think you do get to those moments where you're like, man, I'd love to ask some questions. And then you get some answers and you're like, all right, it's time to get back out there and like, dig back in and come up with that next set of questions. And I feel like the more you do it, the more you realize like it is just bottomless. It's so
Oh
bottomless.
yeah. It's one of those things. I always say like if I went out and like zeroed, I'm like, you either like zero the most time you learn. I forget the saying I used to say, but it was like something. It was like you always learn. I mean,
Mhm.
I learned the most when I like zeroed, where it's
For
like I'm scratching my head. I'm like, dude, where the hell are these fish? We all have those days.
I know it. I know,
But
man. We'll have year to year on the striped bass flats in Maine where the fish are operating totally differently, and you can
yeah,
always come up with some theories why, but like you'd think there'd be some, there'd be like some through lines. Some years you're like, well, it is just, we're going to reinvent, we're going to do things totally different, but it's kind of cool. It just keeps you on your game, keeps you fresh, keeps looking at differently. But
oh yeah. So like, what was the inspiration behind starting Soulfly and like kind of creating that boutique fly fishing destination on Great Harbour Cay in the Berry
yeah,
Islands?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, I think a lot of it really guiding led me there. It definitely took me right to the doorstep of this opportunity to run Soulfly Lodge in the Berries. Being a striped bass guide, it's almost more than a decade of guiding for striped bass now, and that's a 5 month season, and you can work
Yeah,
your butt off for 5 months, and there's always those 7 months reminding you the seasonality of your work. And I always stayed in the fly fishing industry in that 7 months off season. Whether it was, on the marketing side, guiding in other countries. I did some stints in Argentina. I did a bunch of different stuff that kept me in the industry. But it's always like kind of one offs or two offs. And there was a point in time where my wife was like, I want to get out of teaching. Can you find us a bone fishing lodge to manage in the Bahamas? And I was like, oh, yes, I can. So I was like, you just gave the ultimate green light. And, we didn't have kids at the time. And so we started looking and found a great opportunity. Had some friends that were managing a lodge in South Andros called Bears Lodge. They were leaving the lodge and it kind of in the middle of the spring season. And so I jumped in. I helped finish the season out that year, and then my wife and I got hired to do the full season the next year. So we're very very fortunate to get that time down there, and it complemented perfectly with the striper season. I could guide my summer and come down and manage a lodge in the Bahamas. And being my approach to striped bass in New England is sight fishing. It's I run a
yeah,
poling skiff. That's like what I love. And I think in New England you really like, we got a lot of glare. We got a big tides. We've got a lot of weather. We've got a short season. So, our flats fishing is like, man, when it's good, you got to get after it. And so
yeah,
to be down in the Southeast and especially in the Caribbean, where it's just like, this is the whole world. The skinny water is just everything. And so, I mean, I was so ready to start spending a lot of time down there. And, it turned out that we just fell in love with the Bahamas. We really hit it off with the kind of the culture and the community there. And we immediately started opening our eyes to like, where's an opportunity for us to do this on our own,
yeah,
to start our own place. And the Berries, we heard a couple whispers of it, and that's all it took to start exploring it and try and convince ourselves not to do it. And now we're in our 5th season and could not talk ourselves out of it. And we're glad we didn't.
dude. I feel like I mean, it's a great opportunity to get the hell out of Maine in the winter during like the worst part of it.
It is, man. I know. I remember I was dropping my son off at daycare the other day, and someone's like, "God, I hate winter," and I'm like, I just get my mouth shut. I'm like, having those escapes to the Bahamas, I do not feel the same,
Oh yeah.
You just got the balance. It helps immensely.
Yeah, dude, it's like it's one of those things, dude. It's like I still have buddies up there, and it's like they're all walking to Dunkin' Donuts to get their large ice regulars, and it's like it's freaking blizzard outside, and you still got half the town in your local Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like, man, I do not miss that.
No doubt.
But yeah, dude. But your site talks about like quality over quantity, large bonefish, and like an incredible permit opportunity. Can you kind of explain that for the listeners?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we do talk a lot about the quality over quantity, not just because it pairs well with the fishery, but also because I think it just pairs well with expectation in general
Right.
of doing a big fishing trip.
Yeah.
A lot of people put all these eggs in this basket of this trip that they're looking forward to for a year. And so much about how much you're going to enjoy that trip is like, what do you expect to get out of it? And so I think for us, we really try and cultivate like a much more like holistic experience and versus just like a single faceted experience where you really are focused on this result of catching something special, which a lot of times it happens. But it's also, it can be really challenging. It's there's days that the flats really reward you. There's days you're putting your time in, and and then I think too, like talking about the reality of the Berry Islands, they are not a nursery fishery. Fished a lot of other places where you're like, man, you see lots of small bonefish, you see like young stingrays, you see a lot of these younger critters growing up. The Berries has some of that, but it is much more of like this exposed sandbank. We've got some creeks and stuff and some of that like protected habitat, but it's really habitat where big mature fish are very happy to feed. And so the bonefish on average are a little bit larger. And same with the permit. The permit are probably a lot of fish are in kind of that 15 plus pound range. You're going to see fish over 20 pounds. If you fish a couple days, you're going to see a fish over 30 pounds. I mean, they're just these big mature fish. And so I think with all of that, you're throwing your fly to fish that might have been spending 5 to 20 plus years on these flats. I mean, these fish are just experts at the terrain, at how to stay safe and how to feed effectively there. So, I think that's kind of how we boil it down to. This is quality over quantity. I think it's a way to approach it to get the most out of it and enjoy your experience, whether you're successful catching your big permit or not, or the big bonefish you're hunting. And I think it also is just a great approach to fishing in general,
Yeah. I think that's like something too. I like how it's that quality thing. They're like to each his own. I'd much rather go somewhere and catch like, go there for like a week and catch like 3 big, good, mature, like say permit or bonefish, tarpon or something like that, rather than stick like 30, 40 bonefish like that. But it's another one of those things. It's like, everybody's different, but it's like, I feel like that's a good way to do it though, where it's like, you're going to come here, you might catch 1, you might catch 5, but they're all going to be tanks.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's like, I think the reality of this industry we're in, a lot of it's catch and release, but it's still extractive. There's still catch and release mortality. And I think the lightest touch that we can have on the flats, the longer we're going to be able to do that. Do this, and we really try and spread the pressure out over multiple species, because they're really, in reality, there aren't too many lodges that have left these places, these fisheries a lot better off than they had been before. But also in the same breath, without these lodges operating in these remote locations, a lot of these places are ripe for development, and they might just disappear early. So I think, like these fishing lodges, they help preserve this stuff, but they also have to be kind of careful with, with how we fish stuff. I mean, we've had some really good weather and some really good fishing lately. We've, and had to mention to one of our guides, like, you've had some big bonefish days recently. Like, we got to spread that out a little bit, We're like, cause like once you catch your 30th bonefish in a day, like, do you remember your 30th versus your 31st? You're like,
Yeah.
does it get at a certain point is like, are we getting a little redundant,
Yeah.
where you can kind of like make some magic in the day.
Yeah.
In those in between times, like, okay, we're gonna go fish a different element now. Like,
Yeah. Or it's like, you know what? There's like a million cold beers at the lodge. Let's go back.
exactly. Let's go just celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you just got 30 bonefish. We don't need to catch 31. Let's go drink 31 beers.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, but like I feel like that'd be something that like everybody would be like, you know what? Like, yeah, I mean, I don't really remember my 31st bonefish, but I'm gonna remember my 15th beer after after we catch all those bonefish.
Totally.
Or I mean, it really depends if you're a lightweight or you're used to drinking beer. You might not even remember your second. But how is like your connection to like that whole community kind of like shaped the lodging experience both on and off the water?
Yeah, I think it is probably the most important thing. I mean, we went down and got permission first off from the local community to even set up Soulfly Lodge. We asked Percy Darville, the true patriarch of the fishery. He's 73. He's been guiding there for well over 50 years. And so that's who myself and Grizz and a couple of my other partners who we were fishing with as we were kind of getting to know him, get to know the community, the fishery. And so to get his blessing was definitely like the first hurdle. And he was all for it. And he was like, where were you 10 years? I wish you were here 10 years ago, which was a really cool blessing. And then, in operating in these small communities, I think everybody, you either have the ability to like, get everybody on the same team and kind of all be working in the same direction and really be a good member of this community. And like, we had to really prove our worth there. And, we go out of our way to help anybody that we can there. We try and treat our staff as good as we possibly can within the confines of the business, and just give everybody. I mean, I think that's like the legacy that we really want to leave is to be good people, that we're not, taking from this community. We want to be giving back and all of that. Then now it just makes it fun. I mean, we've got this like environment where we've got pretty much about 15 people down working at the lodge and on Great Harbour Cay. And, we're leaving a lot of money behind on that island, which is awesome. And you can see the impact. And that's really like what I think, when I tell people to come, I'm like, come for the fishing, come for all the things that we can control. It's good food, it's open bar. But I think why people come back is because they feel like that vibe. They feel that family aspect to it, that like, we're all in this together. The guides are there at the end of the day, hanging out, having a drink with the guests, not because they're told to or they're being paid to. It's because they want to be there.
Yeah.
Everybody's invested in it. And I think that it like has like such this like circular element to it, because the guests feel that, and then they feel drawn to come back. And our staff is enjoying it because our guests are enjoying it. And so it just, I think that's what we set out to kind of create. And that's probably what we nurture the most, that element of it. Of course, like, everybody needs to keep progressing in their jobs and being the best guides they can and the best chef they can. But it's really that, like, we're not saving lives here. Like, let's have a ton of fun doing this.
Yeah. Dude, that's like everybody's dream. Like,
Right?
so that's like nuts, dude. It's like, so how did like two guys from like Maine and Charlestown end up down in the Bahamas? That's like half those people probably that like work there don't even know where Charlestown, Massachusetts or Maine is.
I know. And Grizz, a fun story about how I met Grizz is, when I started my business, Soulfly Outfitters, that's my striped bass business in Maine. My first client, first person ever stepped on the bow of my boat was Grizz.
No way. That's sick.
And I was like, all right, cool. Like, we had a spectacular day. We had a perfect tide. We sight fished all day. We just had a blast. Like, just laughed the entire time, became great pals, started fishing together. He transitioned from a client to just a fun fishing buddy. And we started doing some traveling. And And it was just we're just a perfect pair to approach this together. And my wife is our other partner in the business. We've got a couple other investors as well, but yeah, it's just fun, man. Just working with your friends, doing what you love.
Heck yeah, dude. So it's like, what opportunities like anglers have year round versus seasonally there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say they're some of the fish are there all year round. And then you get different times of the year that you get migratory fish coming through, which is pretty cool. There's always kind of a little bit of an exchange. Fish that are on the flats and then fish that might not always be on the flat. So like in the winter, we have these resident permitter around. And it's usually like a little bit less of like influx going up and down. Like we know who the resident fish are. We usually, they're usually a little bit smarter because this is like home month in, month out.
Yeah.
And then as we get into like, kind of March through November, you get, and especially in the summer, you get a much bigger exchange. You might pull up to a key and all of a sudden there's a school of 20 or 25 permit that are not often on that flat. Or they might be really like, hanging out for a couple weeks. They're in and out. You just notice things are much more dynamic in those warmer months. I think a lot of those fish, they're coming off of the reef, they're coming out of deeper water, they're moving, they're looking for different feeding opportunities. Maybe they're coming up from North Andros. There's a lot of questions we have about how these migratory fish move. And it's the same with bonefish. The winter, we have our largest bonefish on the flats. And in the summer, we seem like we get like a little influx of some smaller fish and maybe higher numbers. So it's, there's kind of like resident versus migratory, I would say is kind of like, the simple way to put it. And the times of year really kind of dictate what's cooking. But
dude, it kind of sounds like it's almost like up here, you have the, this is like, I've always thought this. It's like, some fish you just want to look at and you're like, you know what? I wish this fish could speak English just to see where and like what they've been through to be.
Totally.
Dude, it's like, it's the same thing with like native trout and like up here in the, say like the Blue Ridge Mountains or the Appalachians. It's like, you just want to look at some of those like brook trout up there and you're like, dude, where the hell have you been and how'd you get here? And like,
I know.
It's crazy. And if they could talk, I bet they'd have some crazy stories.
They would, man. I mean, I feel like the more I learn about fish, the more that like, I think there are so many outliers. I think there's some fish that do some relatively normal standard things. I think there's a ton of fish that just would blow your mind of what they do. We see it in striped bass, year in, year out. You just see these observations. You're like, where did this whole cohort of fish all of a sudden just come and show up here? It's pretty wild. We also just had this pretty hard cold snap at the beginning of February. There was some fish in the southeast of the US that died. There was some bonefish kills in the Bahamas. We got down to felt like air temp was felt like 35. Yeah. We had a pretty good idea that our fish were all going to get off the flat and be okay. Cause even in a pretty hard cold snap, like the fish will go off to deep water. Thank goodness. Yeah. And when our fish, whatever's happened when they came back, the bone fishing has been off the hook.
Oh, damn.
So even with something like that, you're like, did all these fish move to deep water and have some exchange with some fish? Cause there's lots of bonefish that don't come on the flats. So you're like, did they pull in some of these deeper water grass fish into the flats? I don't know. Just endless questions. I mean, until you're tagging fish and really understanding how they move, it's just all speculation. But yeah. You get those little pieces that you're like, oh God, I want to learn more about that.
Yeah, dude. It was seasonally cold, up, especially here in North Carolina, dude. Right there, end of January, early February, dude. It was bad. We were sitting in 14 inches of snow.
Yeah.
On February 1st, where it's I was hoping I moved down here and I didn't have to see over an inch and a half of snow.
I know.
And dude, it was kind of nice. There are times where, especially during the Patriots game, where I was seeing videos people running to the bars when they're playing the the Broncos, people are like running to the
Yeah.
bars. I'm like, all right, I kind of missed that where it's
Yeah,
like you got good snow. It's like a blizzard. The Pats are in like the playoffs, but
I
it's
know.
like I was
Right.
kind of excited where I was like, all right, dude, like there's a little bit of snow. Like I brought the dog outside, let him run around in it for a little bit. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
this is kind of like the good, like nice soft snow that I miss. But it's like I bet, dude, some of those like there were big fish kills that whole week, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks into February, that like
Yeah.
even fish in Florida
Yeah.
were all messed up. And it was like down in the teens in Florida, where
It's
it's like
crazy.
it's nuts.
Yeah, I know. I know. Those fish, just so many of those fish just don't have a escape plan. I know the Chesapeake lost a lot of fish, even all the way up there, a lot of speckled trout and small redfish and stuff that just don't have that, like, that's their safe zone, They don't
Yeah.
they don't leave. But
And it's like, dude, those striper up where you guys are, they're like used to that.
yeah.
Yeah, they're so used to it. They're just like, you know what? It's like I'm wearing shorts.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But how do you help guests like decide when to wade the flats and then like when to fish from a skiff, and like what does that approach kind of offer?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's I think preference is a big part of it. You know, so I mean, the great thing is, like, we got the opportunity to do both a lot of the times, and there's certain parts of the tide, if we're fishing around the low, it is so ideal to be out of the boat, to be in that skinny water. A lot of times, when you're wading around for bonefish, you're looking at like ankle deep to a little bit above ankle. They really want to be kind of in that little sliver of water that is
Yeah,
just in that transition, away from, safe from the bigger sharks, safe from the bigger cuda. And so those bones really want to be in that skinny water. And I think wading, I mean, you can get some really cool shots and you can be really patient. So I think, we really try and teach a lot of our anglers to be patient with those wading fish. And, like, if you can stay stealthy, like, you can, and deliver that fly to the fish on foot, you get some really cool opportunities, and
yeah.
it can be super visual.
He-
And it can happen more on your terms waiting, like
Oh
when you're in
yeah,
the boat, it's like, okay, the shots now, they're going to see or feel that boat,
yeah.
eventually. But
It's like you throw that fly like especially on a boat. It's like you throw that fly a little bit too hard, and they see like that little bit of ripple. They're like gone,
yeah, totally.
gone. Dude, like
And
especially bones.
same with permit. A lot
Yeah,
of times we'll try and get out of the boat for permit. Especially if you have them on a stingray, that is a classic. Like, we will, 9 times out of 10, try and get the angler out of the boat. The stingray becomes this big target, where it makes it easier for the angler to follow them. And, permit, a lot of times, like, once you're at that 50 to 60 feet away from them, in the boat, they're really going to start to pick you up. And you can preserve that a little bit better on foot. And, sometimes you might have time to change a fly. I mean, several times, always bring a little stash of flies if you're wading to a permit on a ray, because, you might not have exactly what's going to turn them on. And you're taking your time, you're sticking with your ray and changing your fly, and finally get either the shot, the angle, the drop, the right pattern. It can happen after 15, 20, 30 casts.
yeah.
I've had it happen after a half an hour of working a fish. You're just
Damn.
like, stick with it. So, like, that waiting element can really, like, preserve that opportunity where it doesn't hold up on the boat that long, for sure.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
But
that's nuts. That's
but
nuts.
yeah. And then too, and like, sometimes it's, and I think all of that too, like, the more you watch those situations play out, you realize the range of mood that these fish have. Sometimes it takes one little one red flag for that fish to just bolt.
Yeah,
Uh, and then some days they are so tunnel visioned in on what they're doing that your sweet spot is huge. You can
yeah.
you can make more mistakes. The fish is just really, really keyed for whatever reason.
Did you see probably a lot of pressure on those bonefish down there? Because like I was in Aruba, I think it was 2 Christmases ago now, and dude, those bonefish are probably some of the most skittish fish I've ever seen.
Yeah.
especially like over grass, dude. I had cut my feet all up walking through that dang grass. I didn't buy boots. I was like, damn, dude, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like, I'm just gonna raw dog it with my feet out. And dude, I was paying for that at the end of the week. And, dude, it was horrible. I like jumped 2 tarpon and didn't even see a bonefish that week. Saw some far out, but I was like, dude, those bonefish aren't coming anywhere near my lily white legs.
Yeah, I mean, once they establish that they've got a threat, I mean, bonefish are pretty wiry. I mean, they can be very, very on edge. I'd say, you really have to be careful of, if they're getting overpressured, they can be impossible. I mean, there are days like when we'll get kind of a cold front or a pre-cold front that puts the fish like majorly on edge. And those are the days where if you're going to take your shot, you're going to be standing entirely still. A lot of days, like I'll take a knee on those days. And really try and give a longer lead. Those are the days that like you have to be so perfect, so on your
Yeah.
game. And then there's the days that they're all happy and their senses are dulled. But yeah, when a bonefish has its senses like properly sharpened, they are tough to get close to.
Oh, I bet.
But
But so it's like, how do you kind of balance that high performance fishing with the first class comfort, like food and all that kind of like overall experience?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we always say that, you can control the vibes, but you can't control the tides. And so, the food and the drink and a comfortable place to stay, in our opinion, is all the stuff you can control
Right.
really well. And, I think we're not the cheapest lodge in the Bahamas. We're definitely not the most expensive. And I think we've tried to stay at like, kind of try and balance all that, want it to still be as accessible as it can be price wise and not like these over the top, in terms of any of the hospitality that we do. But we just want it to feel like really comfortable and really good food. And we're lucky that, we've actually worked with the chef that has been with us since the start, Valentino. He came over from Andros with us. And so we knew him for a long time, just a really talented guy. I mean, he just is so consistent. And so I think that's a big part of it. It's just like building out that right team they're just going to perform, day in,
Yeah.
day out. And food can be tough to get sometimes. I mean, the mail boat, everything we're on a tiny little out island. So everything comes in on a boat and that boat doesn't always work.
Yeah.
It's weather. I mean, we'll go through 2-3 weeks where we don't have a mailboat, and it's you figure it out. You're again, that's the beauty of being in a tight community. Everybody's in this together. But I think a lot of that stuff is just the things we really just like. We feel very obligated to nail. These are very controllable things. And the place that when we purchased the property, it's a really cool, funky old place. I mean, it's been around since the early '60s, and it's changed hands a number of times. It's been kind of this like renowned party spot.
That's
Place where a
cool.
lot of people have congregated for many years there, and so it's got a lot of vibe. And that was important for us. I think we didn't want this sterile place. It's funky. It's got character. So I think you're just trying to lean into that environment, and and the open bar thing, come back and make your own drink is fun. And we always have some of our team is around that, Annie is always whipping up her special rum and punch. Somebody's
Oh,
always
hell
there
yeah.
to make you something great. But we definitely encourage that, like, hey, make yourself at home here. And when the weather's bad, when there's a cold front, when the fishing isn't exactly what you would hope for, those are the things to fall back on.
Yeah.
And that helps.
Definitely, dude. I was just getting ready to ask, like, what do you guys do? You just kind of like when there is like a cold front or it's like thunder, lightning, pouring down rain, like kind of hunkered down, drinking beers and drinking rum.
For sure. I mean, we'll get definitely the bar gets its usage then. And I mean, there's lots of fun things to do on the island.
Yeah.
And it always impresses me with the folks that come to see us, because they're just, people get it, our sport is so weather driven. I mean, we can pick the best tides, the best time of year. I've done that myself, coming down to my own place many a time. Pick the best tide, best time of year on paper, and all right, you got a hurricane that's scooting by 70 miles to the north. This was not the week. The shitty tide the week before with perfect weather, that's when you wanted to be here. So it's like, and I think it's cool. I think that's also to a joy of, like, now we've got some experience under our belt. We have a lot of people that have come, that have repeated, that keep coming back, that, like, it's more than a fishing experience to a lot of people now, which is really cool. They've built relationship with the staff, with the team, with our managers, Kevin and Michelle, who are in their third season with us now. So I think it just, like, as the snowball rips down the hill, it picks up steam, and it becomes much more than just like, well, the fishing wasn't great. I didn't get what I hoped out of my trip. I think people are more open to that, and they
Yeah.
realize, like, if they book a number of trips, they're not all going to be hitters.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and there's certain times a year that, you got a better chance of better weather, and sometimes a year where you're going to roll the dice. There's always trade-offs, for sure.
Yeah. Dude, I think that's something too. Like, I think a lot of people, like, yeah, the fishing's like a cool part of it. Don't get me wrong, but, like, dude, the overall, like, vibes and, like, the hangout at the end and, like, after, that's where, like, the memories are made, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
I was down in the Bahamas my senior year of college, and I was like, dude, I mean, Kalik is one of the best beers I've ever drank. It's so good, and it goes down pretty easy. At the end of the week, we like kept all our cases. We ended up drinking like 7-8 cases of it by the end of the week.
Yeah.
But it's like super good. And then I think, like, conch salad, dude. I mean, that whole, like, environment down there is unbelievable.
I know. I mean, you nailed it, dude. And I think so many people, like, it's so good for our sport. Like, that perspective is so good for our sport. It makes these, like, good experiences so much more accessible for everybody when the attitude is like that, like, doesn't always have to be about checking a box or meeting a goal. I mean, that is it, dude. And, like, the reality, like, if you had a Kalik back in the States, it wouldn't taste like nearly as good as it does in Bahama, dude. Like, you're down there, you're like, I have never had a better beer than this in my life.
Yeah. Dude, it was like, we went to Ireland one year, and it was the same thing with, like, not the Guinness, but the Carlsberg, dude. I had, like, Carlsberg over there, and I was like, dude, this is the greatest beer I've ever tried. And then I got, like, a 6-pack of it here when I got back to school. I was like, man, this tastes like shit. And it was like the same thing. I forget where we were, but I was like, I saw Kalik on the menu. I was like, oh shit, I'm getting one. Yeah. And I was like, dude, this is about to get vicious. I'm about to drink like 6 of these, and we haven't even had dinner yet. And I was like, dude, this is kind of trash in the States.
I know. That's so funny.
Yeah, dude. But so, like, how do you kind of envision the future? Like, more retreats, special events, and we'll get into the one special event after this question. But kind of like expand on experiences that go beyond just fishing. Like, kind of like, what do you see in that future?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're at a cool crossroads with Soulfly, where I think we'd really like to take, kind of this model that's worked for me in my guiding business, that's worked for us at Soulfly Lodge really well, of just, like, very community focused, conservation first. Like, let's lead with a lot of those elements. Let's keep this sport lighthearted, really fun. And I think there's ways to make, we do realize, like, not everybody can take a week off and spend the money to come to the Bahamas. But so we really want to kind of package up all those life's good things around our sport, and try and bring them to people in different places. And so we are, we're looking at different ways to do that. And, one of the ways to do that is certainly events. And that's, that is really kind of what we're focusing on in this new chapter Soulfly. And I think we're going to keep taking things one step at a time and kind of see what rolls out there. But I think I think there's not many people that are saying we don't want that in this sport.
Yeah,
More
100%.
people want more community, getting together, having fun, doing it in cool and different ways. And I think it's honestly, the opportunities are pretty endless there because
Oh
it's
yeah,
so open ended.
dude, yeah. Like we were down in Charleston 2 weeks ago, dude. Like that
Yeah,
whole vibe around Charleston that week was awesome, dude.
it's
Like,
so cool. Yeah,
and it was kind of like I've never seen anything like that where it was like we're all out at a dive bar and there are girls in like outfits dressed to the nines drinking beers. I was like, yo, it's like I'm underdressed here. I'm in like glorified sweatpants and a like pullover. And like my girlfriend kind of said that too. She's like, dang, some of the outfits were crazy. But
I
it's
know.
like, dude, that's like part of it too, though. Like everybody's different. It's like, and I know we talked about it a little bit there, but like you guys have a pretty big event coming to Charleston this summer. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, talking about vaguely what we're doing, here's the real, the real deal of what we are going to be doing is we're kicking it off with two events. So the first one's going to be in Charleston, May 16th at the Refinery. We've got some awesome music booked. We're going to have a heavy focus on art. It's essentially, if you think of, for lack of a better word, it's a fly fishing music 1-day festival. And
Yeah.
we're just, the aim is to just celebrate everything that we all love and try and bring everybody in together and be vulnerable, have fun. Let's not have like, sponsors and brands behind a table and kind of a sterile atmosphere. Like let's just really kind of try and break down some of these barriers. And I think the cool thing, what I'm really excited about doing it is, we're doing it really in collaboration with the community in Charleston.
Yeah.
And there's been some amazing folks that have been helping us. Paul Puckett has been, there with us every step of the way and introduced myself and Grizz particularly because Grizz is really leading and producing this event. The social creature that he is just the perfect person to pull us all together to do this. He is, it's been really fun to watch him just thrive getting this off the ground. And, I think we're just trying to just put everything together. But the fun thing is we're going to be doing this year in and year out. And this is going to be totally a community produced deal. And let's adjust, let's make changes. And so May 16th, mark it on your calendar. We've got Mountain Grass Unit is going to be playing.
That's
the
going to be sick.
We've got a couple other bands too there that evening, and it's we're really excited to see what happens. And it's just been a lot of good momentum and just another fun way for us all to interact around our sport.
Yeah, dude, the stews are awesome. And then Leon's playing, isn't he?
Yeah.
Dude,
Leon's there as well.
he's starting to
And,
get big. Dude,
yeah,
like that's a freaking awesome lineup.
we're excited, man. We're
Dude,
excited.
yeah.
Yeah.
Grizz's face is going to be on the Bunker Hill Monument after this one.
And that's where we're heading next. We're going to be up in Boston this September, doing another event, and I think that's kind of where we'll start. Is we'll just see how these first two go, see how they track, and I think there's a lot of other ways to do some fun stuff and kind of in this vein, and yeah, we're very excited.
Dude, yeah, it's that dude mountain grass. I kept getting it that one night as like I was rather overserved myself that night, but I kept getting them and Green Sky Bluegrass confused because it's like I listen to both of those bands so much. I was like, dude, you guys have Green Sky Bluegrass code, don't you? Grizz was like, nah, Mountain Grass Unit. I was like, oh, shit. But dude, yeah, that's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna get my tickets here soon.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well,
Yeah,
we can't
dude.
have you, dude. You'll have to do a podcast live down there, man.
Oh, dude, I will. If you guys want me to, I definitely will.
Please. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, dude. But so this is one of my last questions. But have you guys hosted like any crazy clients yet, like athletes or celebrities?
we've had some movie stars. We've had, oh man, no, we haven't. I don't think we've had any famous athletes yet. Um, but I mean, man, so many more high profile business folks that
Yeah.
come through. And definitely the handful of actors that have, they look for that anonymity.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? But we've had some interesting folks pass through the lodge for sure.
That's awesome, dude. That's
Yeah.
pretty sweet, dude. Like, that's always like a question I ask people. Like, some people throw out like, some cool athletes. Like, I know Joe Gugino, who's up there. He runs Fish Boston. He threw out
Yeah.
Jeremy Swayman. That
Yeah,
he took him, and then Dave Andrews. I was like, damn, dude, that's pretty sick.
for sure.
So it's
I
like
know.
that's always a question I ask.
There's a good crew of, like, I feel like, of those New England athletes too, like the Harrison brothers in Western Mass. They end up fishing like half of the Red Sox, and
Yeah.
like all these really interesting folks.
Yeah, dude,
But
the Harrison anglers, dude, I completely forgot about them. Holy crap.
yeah,
Because
those
it's
guys
like,
just got their head down, just catching big brown trout in Western
yeah,
Mass, just doing their thing.
I gotta go up there, and I might go up there and do that this summer. I'm thinking about it. I want to get up to Fenway and
Yeah,
then just like drive up there and bring all my rods and stuff like that. Just go
do a little
fishing.
tour, man. We'll catch a striper in Maine, and you
Oh,
can
I'm
hook up
down.
with, Joey G in Boston, and Grizz will join you. Yeah, man, we'd
Heck
love
yeah.
that.
Dude, that'd be sick. But so at the end of every podcast, I have a question. So I have a running playlist on Spotify.
Awesome.
And so I contribute 5 songs every episode, and then the guest contributes 5 songs. So
Sweet.
what are your 5 songs that you would like to contribute to the playlist?
Awesome. Well, I did my homework and I wrote them down because I knew I wouldn't be able to nail them off the cuff. So, well, I got to say, for one, Talking Heads, Naive Melody is got to be on there. This must be the place.
Let's see. I don't think it is actually. Let's see. Um,
That has like been like one of my, like, it's like every time that comes on, that is like you're heading to the mountain on a powder day, or
oh yeah.
you're going to get your, it's the right day to be on the water fishing.
Somebody already picked that. Damn. That's
Nice.
all good though. I can double it up.
All right. How
Yeah, I
about
doubled it up.
Grateful Dead? I Know You Rider.
I don't think, dude. I don't think that one's on there. Surprisingly, usually I'm the one that throws Grateful Dead on there. That one is not on there.
Well, you might as well throw China Cat Sunflower after that one.
Yeah.
Because I only had 4, so that'll make my 5th one actually with that addition.
Yeah, dude, what's nice about the Dead is you can put live versions on there too. So it's like
Yeah,
usually if there's like a double, I'll put like a live version of China Cat on
absolutely.
there. The regular one was on there though. Was not on there. Not
Okay.
is. Now, what's your 5th one?
All right. Oh, well, I guess I got 2 more. That's 3. We got all right, a little different. Reggae, Groundation, Smile.
Smile ground. Got it.
And this was been a song I've been playing on the guitar a bunch lately. Dylan, Hey Woody Guthrie, just a classic folk.
Oh yeah, you big Dylan guy?
I feel like, yeah, I feel like Dylan was one of those like early big influencers.
Yeah,
I've
dude.
been playing guitar for a long time, and when that Dylan film came out, I actually watched that maybe a year or two ago, and I just, like, it was a sick day for me, and I just, like, paused, played every song. Like, I watched the movie over like 6 or 7 hours over the day, and just like went deep into every song, and like it's just so inspiring too that, like, I'm gonna butcher that actor's name, but like that he learned and played everything. Like,
Yeah.
um,
That's not
just
an
like,
easy feat too.
no, pretty
Which is
cool.
crazy, dude. Yeah, it's nuts. I love Bob Dylan.
Me too.
I started listening to Bob Dylan, dude, like super late, like in high school, because I had a really cool like English teacher, and he would do this thing every week where he'd like play different music. He had like a new music Monday or something like that. where he'd introduce everybody to new music. He was on like the 21 Pi. He was on 21 Pilots way before they even blew up. It was nuts, dude. He was on like 4 or 5 bands back then that like blew up like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I saw him at something like because he's still in like the community. My mom was pretty like tight knit in the community back in our hometown. I saw him. I was like, dude, you were on like 3 to 4 bands before they even like blew up. Yeah. And I started listening to him and they blew up, and now I'm like, oh yeah, I was on them in like my senior year of high school, and it was all because of it. Mr. Hill was his name. Shout out Mr. Hill.
All right.
But he like introduced us all to like the first week was like all these easy ones, and like Bob Dylan, I think it was like a Rolling Stone was the first one that he did, and I was like, I'm gonna start listening to this more.
Yeah.
But dude, awesome. It was super cool. Let's see what I had 5 as well. I think Bob Dylan might have actually been on this week. Either that. Let's see. Here it is.
Well, I'm gonna have to grab your.
I'll send it to you.
Start playing it for sure.
Yeah, I did have Bob Dylan on there actually.
Nice.
So it's You Get What You Give, New Radicals.
Okay. Yeah.
Doc Watson, Blue Ridge Mountain Blues.
Sweet.
Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, Bob Dylan.
Awesome.
And then Freebird, because the Team USA hockey team.
Yep.
And then Running Down a Dream, Tom Petty.
Sweet, dude. Awesome.
Yeah. But I'll send you that playlist, dude. It's got almost 620 songs on it.
Awesome.
But I'll send it to you after this. But that's all I got for you today, man. You got any last thanks and plugs you want to give?
No, man. Thanks for the chat. I mean, it was just so funny running into you in Charleston, just like randomly.
Yeah.
About to do a podcast together. But yeah, thanks for reaching out, man. It's awesome to get to know you.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'm gonna click stop here. I know we might need some tracks to upload. What's up, guys? That was Kyle Schaefer with Soulfly Lodge. What's up, guys? That was Kyle Schaefer. What's up, guys? That was Kyle Schaefer with Soulfly Lodge in the Bahamas. Super cool episode. Super cool episode. Really cool guy. Got to hang out with those guys in Charleston and had a freaking blast. But as usual, thank you guys for listening. Feel free to like, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple. And hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys next week. We got a slam-packed March, and we got some great episodes coming. So until Tuesday, I will see you guys later.